if I do not hold a master's degree, but I have a reasonably good bachelor's, can I dream of getting into impact consulting via the things which you have mentioned?
And then they asked me what was optional, and I told anthropology, and then I took them for a ride. They told name all the hominid species. Then I started numbering them 10 to 12 numbers, which they had no clue of. My CV, which I made for engineering degree, which got me a job, is a shit CV. It can't be used anywhere else. It's pretty bad. And you can just Google for any MBA CVs in LinkedIn itself. You'll see it and you'll be astonished or shocked on how much they have done. Every interview or the getting job process, a funnel. You start with a good number of people. CV may I'll want if I'm a recruiter, I'll want to cut down 90%, that will, or 80%. It's a very huge number. So they're not going to look at what you did, but how you word it, because that also shows you how well you know about yourself, because it's you. Your CV is about you. For any exam, it's you don't need to crack the exam. Even for UPSC, and I haven't cracked the prelims only once. You don't need to know the answers, by rote learning or understanding the complete knowledge. You just have to figure out what the answer is. Likewise, CAT may be AEA, JE may be AE. Any exam, that's the idea. You don't need to find the solution, figure out the solution, but find the answer. Those are two different things. So
Absolutely.
the strategy to how to do that is what I learned from civil service preparation, like prelims preparation specifically.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of our podcast. As you know, at Rebounce, our mission is to empower individuals, especially former UPSC aspirants, to transition into highly successful professional careers. In our podcast today, and as well as in general, we try to feature inspiring stories of those who have navigated this journey successfully. And today we have a very distinguished guest. His name is Girish. So welcome, Girish, to our podcast. Girish is currently making a mark in the impact consulting space as a consultant with JDI Partners. Like many of you, Girish also prepared for UPSC Civil Services examination. And in this conversation, we will explore this journey, the journey along with the lessons learned, and in this transition into impact consulting, we'll discuss some of the actionable insights for aspirants seeking to pivot from UPSC preparation into this rewarding career in the social impact consulting domain. But I want to start by thanking Girish for taking time out to join us today and to share his journey, his experiences, and the learnings along the way. I'm sure the insights and experiences is gonna be resonating with many of the listeners, present over here, who are onto similar paths at various, places, but maybe have ambitions to get into the public policy or impact consulting space. So welcome, Girish. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Akshat, for a great introduction. But yeah, I don't think I'm not so sure if I'm worth that much of things what you told. But yeah, it's been a very roller coaster of a journey from engineering to UPSC to then again MBA, and then finally back to impact consulting space. So, and before I start, I also want to really thank Rebounce, both Akshat and Jigasu, for giving me an opportunity to connect and talk with a particular set and community of people who I greatly associate myself with. I've been there, and I know what pretty much how all of you are going, what you're going through, and what kind of thoughts you would be having. So, I really want to give back whatever I've learned through this journey and to be where I am currently. So, uh, very happy to interact with all of you.
Great. Sounds good, Girish. Thank you so much. Maybe let's just start with your journey in general. You have had some journey. You are an engineer. You got into UPSC. Then you sort of went for a management degree, and then currently you are working with JDI Partners. That's some journey, for this over the course of years. Maybe just to the audience present over here, just take us through your journey in general, and then we will focus on every aspect of it, and we'll go into details of it, and we will try and just distill out some of the learnings from your journey, which might be relevant for other aspirants who are aiming to sort of cross those bridges in that journey.
So let me, before I start, let it be something like tell me about myself of a question here. So I am from Chennai. I did my schooling in Chennai for until I went to NIT Trichy to become a civil engineer. And then right after engineering, I got a job back in Chennai. Luckily, fortunately, unfortunately, who knows? But I worked as a design engineer. As in, what I do is to design structures, civil tech structures like steel or concrete structures for a chemical
Mhm.
factory.
Mhm.
So it was during this course, and this was back in 2015. So I started working as a civil engineer in 2015, and it was a long. I mean, working wise, it was about 2.5 years. But oddly enough, in the first week of my job, I understood that this is not the place I will probably be retiring from, because the company, usually the people who were there usually was stating that this is the place to retire from, and I really couldn't associate myself with it. I was really, I mean, not bashing the job or anything. It was a very good job, pays well, very intellectually challenging. I had to learn a lot. In the first year, I had no clue what I was doing. Only after a year, I understood, अच्छा, engineering यही है. So 4 साल was useless, practically useless. So I actually learned the engineering in the first year of my job, where I actually got paid and they taught me engineering. But even then, there's this concept called ikigai. So some of you
Yeah.
already learned about it either via UPSC or by books and other stuff. So there's ikigai is the intersection of four different things: what you love, what you're good at, what you get paid for, and most importantly, what the world needs. For me, this civil engineering job, sort of gave the first three. What I love as an analyst or a problem solver, so was very satisfying, and I was actually good at it. I mean, not the first year, but later I actually found that I'm good at what I do, and of course I was getting paid good money, which is can't really complain there. But the question kept ringing, like, is it what the world needs? There are enough structures, there's enough chemical factories that we get enough products. So is it what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life,
Mhm.
or something else? Is there something else behind the door which I'm not even looking at or focusing? And that's when I started thinking a lot more. A lot of options came up. I thought of avenues like Teach for India or alternate MBAs. So there are a couple of now, which wasn't back then, but now it is there. There was MPP back then. There was even the degree at I mean, technical, a civil engineering degree as master's, or of course MBA, and all of this was in my head, and UPSC was not in the list for a long time.
Okay,
But
that's
it's like,
interesting.
I mean, since my childhood, I've never. I mean, I know about the civil service with IAS, IPS, IRS, and all the names, mostly through the movies, but never had interacted with anyone, or none of my family members are in government service as such. So it's not a story of where people say बचपन से मैं ये बनना था. ऐसा कुछ story नहीं था. मैं story until my first year of work, which is when I decided यही करना है. Until then, it was very simple. Do engineering, work 2 years in some job, any job doesn't really matter. Appear for CAT, do MBA, and then get rich. I don't know how to do that, but I was like, planning नहीं था.
Yeah.
Like, do MBA, get
Yeah,
rich.
absolutely.
That's
That's the
that's
classic
like
story, I
that's
guess,
a
which
very
plays
classic
out.
that works out. It's like every movie you see, every people you see, every news you read, like, हाँ यही चाहिए, यही सही है भाई. So like, हाँ मैं engineer हूँ, so like that's what is written. Like I don't need to think more than that. It's not something great thing to wonder or ponder. But then a lot of things changed, and a critical canon moment or canon event was that in 2015 again I was in Chennai, and Chennai had this flood in the month of December, where it usually typically rains, northeast monsoon,
Correct.
and I mean, you guys know better more than more probably any geography optional people here would know way better more than me. So that happened, and I was in a place where I was hardly affected. I had internet, I had power, my house was not had any issues. Whereas parallelly, my friends, my classmates or my colleagues, all of them had their life disrupted in some form or other. Not nothing great, nothing. Luckily, nothing very terrible happened, but all of them had some, had to take a step back. For me, it was very smooth, and that's actually when I realized the privilege I come from. I like always at a point of time, even most of us think we want to be the top 1% of India, and I think that moment, maybe I didn't structurally very clear, categorically knew I wasn't 1%, but I understood that I'm enough privileged, because if I'm in a place where there's a great disaster, which has stumped millions of
Almost the whole of city and maybe,
and I'm like, I
bigger.
have internet, man. I have Wi-Fi. I can do anything I want. I can travel. I can eat food. I can do absolutely anything. That's no question. So after a day of the flood happening, I thought, okay, so at least let me take part in this rehabilitation of the relief measures. So I took my car out, which also was functional, luckily, fortunately, and went around and started helping out people. And again, luckily, the city also stood for itself. There are a lot of people like me who grouped in with resources. So at times I was just a delivery guy. I was taking waters and food from some place to place which is not accessible. We back then had a Bolero car which really could go into the waters. Like if it's 5 feet, sorry, not 5, 3 to 3.5 feet, it can actually go in, and I can actually physically go into places where accessibility was much lesser, and help them out. So this was a particular change of heart of the moment in which I understood कुछ तो करना है. Like the ideas which I had is not the ideas which I should be looking at for my future, but something new or different. And that's when UPSC kicked in. Again, to repeat, this was not in the clarified version. It's not in the top 5 or 6. It was like, let's do I met a lot of TFA people that are working in Chennai. I met a couple of MBA people who are working in on social entrepreneurship space. So I thought, ठीक है, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे. But again, again, not to mention, I had very close friends who are now into in IAS, IPS, and IAS, and a lot of services. They were preparing, and even then, it wasn't my. I thought, this is not my cup of tea. This is not what I'm destined for. I don't think I can do that, because primarily I have a great handwriting. So I thought that itself would be a big negative for me. And I never really had to write pages of pages and pages, just taking or like objective type questions, which I usually am good at. So by
Yeah,
primarily,
that's
um,
pretty interesting, to be honest. Uh, Usually, uh, you know, uh, people have this aspiration to get into civil services via the UPSC civil services examination from their childhood, right? Or maybe, while in college, or, things like that. Maybe, various influences, be it your parents, be it your family, be it your friends, or other, aspirations which guide you to maybe prepare for this examination. And this is one of the best, right? As far as, a government job any day is concerned, I don't think it can get better than that. But your story is sort of interesting, right? Because these incidents actually, which happened with you, which sort of motivated you to pursue this examination, right? Okay, that sounds good. Uh, and I guess you spent considerable time preparing for this examination. Just take us through that journey. Like, while you are preparing for UPSC, okay, 1 year goes, nothing happens. Year two goes, nothing happens. What was that state of mind? What were you thinking? And finally, when you sort of decided to come out of it, was there like a trigger? Was there any trigger, like the trigger you mentioned, which got you into
Mhm.
UPSC? Was there a trigger which sort of made you realize that, look, okay, that is it. Now is the time to pivot out and maybe back on that same path which you mentioned you always had imagined for yourself, which is engineering, work for some time, and then maybe go for a management program.
Right. Uh, so but again, start my civil preparation, civil service exam preparation started 1 year into work. Initially, I was
Ah,
preparing while working, like preparing the weekends, working in the weekdays. It was pretty hectic, in which I think you guys all know about that. So the first attempt didn't really go well because I was with a job and I didn't really cover all these subjects, to be honest. Even the prelims, I didn't really cover all of the concepts. So first attempt I know was like, ठीक है भाई, trial ball है, नहीं होगा, ठीक है. So second attempt I decided, this is the right time to leave the job. I quit the job and I decided no more engineering. बस है, I've done enough engineering and I'm pretty good at it, so no more of no looking back at it. So the second year actually went pretty well. The second attempt rather, I cleared prelims. I went into mains, but sadly that's where it ended. But it was a very valid, it's a vindicative moment. Like I left the job, a very comfortable job, and actually when I left the job, to be candid, I was supposed to be going to US for 6 months to 1 year for a particular project, which is also very comfortable and makes good amount of money. But again, once I go there, I know my routine of this preparation would definitely be not in place.
correct.
That's the primary cause of quitting at that particular moment. And it had about 7 months to prepare for the prelims. Made sense. Like, take it 2, 3 months we can balance mains and prelims and then go for full prelims. So it all worked out, and luckily second year was very smooth. So end of second year, I didn't crack mains, but I understood TK mains may I had to prepare a bit more, like specifically in the optional part and the essay part. I know where my gaps were. So I thought this is the moment I should go to Delhi, the Mecca or the hub
Ah,
location there. I came to Delhi I mean currently again I'm now in Delhi for a very different reason. But back then when I came to Delhi, I went taken how that were in and went through the whole all the dramas. So the third attempt I did in Chennai, didn't clear, and I thought that's the moment, like Delhi जाना है, prepare करना है, like ऐसे में सब में like I have to focus enough. I need a good set of peers as well who can motivate and help me out. A
Yeah,
steady
correct,
of sort. So
correct.
that all happened. Oddly enough, this was like in the year 2019. Like 2019 claims I didn't clear. Came to Delhi 6 months later. COVID came. You know, there are so stories, I
Yeah,
guess, you
yeah,
can see dots and dashes. So 2020 again didn't really go well. So 2019 films didn't go well. 2020 didn't go well. And at that moment, I was like, by kya ho raha hai? Because in the mocks I was taking, like, there's a self-administered mocks, I was getting solid 120s or 110s, easily more than that, easily about that. And back then, if I'm right, the cutoff was about 98 to 92. So I was like, ठीक है भाई, have very good buffer of 15 marks, can't miss it. But that 2020 prelims, I got the lowest prelims cutoff ever in my 5 attempts. So I was like, I didn't understand what's happening. To look back, maybe that would have been the right time for me to shift out, because 4 attempts are done, 3 years of overall preparation and 1.5 years of very concentrated preparation. That's more than what I should have probably done. If I want to advise someone, it's like 3 years is 3 attempts, or rather, it's way more than sufficient. If you can't get it, I would say please think of the other backup options and maybe pitch yourself for that as well. But no, my confidence was say high, or as rather I could say I was too dumb. So I was like, my एक और attempt चलना है, इसमें नहीं होगा तो नहीं होगा, like ठीक है. So that I like, this is the last attempt. So I did that. Back then again COVID happened, so I had to come back to Chennai because not
yeah.
anymore further. But there's this coaching called IIS Baba, which there was this particular Super 30 kind of group which I got selected for. I went in through Bangalore. COVID wave 2 happened. So I was like, bye. Luck is not something, I was not born with it. And he doesn't like me. He broke up with me 5 years ago, probably. So it's not happening. So that again happened in 2021. I was like, by 2021, my mindset was like, until then rather, I knew what I had to do to, cover the delta. Something I was missing up. Maybe in prelims, ancient may I could have focused more, or something a bit more specifics in economics or agriculture, or very key topics. And mains may option, I could always do better. Like you can read a lot better, and that's what I was doing. But the 2021 prelims, I know there's nothing more I could understand better or read better to make myself there, like go there. Out of ideas, I was done with myself to ponder what next. So at that moment, luckily I'd applied 2021 ka CAT as well. I thought, because
Wow.
as I told, the previous year I thought this is the last attempt. So I was like, karna hai, so let's do it. So again, one similarity between my engineering journey and UPSC journey is both the times I decided to quit or retire from the specific phase was when I thought this is it for me, because there's nothing more for me to do. There's nothing additional for me to do. In engineering, I was like pretty good engineer, can't say the best engineer, but was happy. I was good at what I was doing. And likewise in this thing, I didn't clear it. No, can't say a great aspirant, but what I planned, I completed. I did very good job in what I wanted to do. Didn't clear. Results doesn't really matter, like what Dhoni says repeatedly. So at that point, that's when I decided karna hai. And to tell more about it, or one more information specifically, is 2021 is also very personally bad year for me. I had a disc slip in vertebrae column,
Oh my God.
a big breakup as well. And then, of course, this mental torture of 5 attempts and all. So, mentally and physically at the lowest of low for me. So, and prelims, I think in 2021 was in October 2nd or 3rd, or rather, first week of October. And CAT typically comes in last week of November. And the results came in October 30th or 31st of that year, 2021. I barely had 3.5 weeks to prepare for CAT. I was like, karna hai, and let's figure out a way. For next 2 days, I just went through all of the 5-6 years of CAT papers. I figured out a strategy first, like क्या करना है, कैसे करना है, where I lack in some questions which I can just solve it just by looking at it, which the UPSC में भी होते हैं. That's basically
Correct, correct. Absolutely.
intuitively, like a answer. You don't even have to look it twice. Likewise, I know some questions which are like, by even if in sleep I can make it right. Those questions and those concepts, I prepared it and made it separately. I know the topics and also rebrush the topics so that I know, even I can't miss it even by the randomest misfit, or like I can't even take it wrong, whatever it is. And then this the tough part, the questions which I had to struggle, or do my work to understand. And then more importantly, I had to figure out the questions or the concepts which I absolutely suck at. I had to figure out which I'm bad at, because those questions it's the sixth ball for the Virat Kohli, I know I'll get out. I can't put my bat there. I will, it's not going to go well. So that question had to live. So probably what UPSC gave me, this is what probably the prelims gave me. Like I know the questions
Mhm.
or the points which I can't really afford to take it because the negative mark is always going to be there. So be very cautious of that. Once I got this strategy right after 2, 3 days, I started repeating it. The routine kicked in, the UPSC routine. You know what to do. You have a plan. You repeat it religiously day in, day out. It happened and everything happened. This is again, I think luck came back to me somehow and got a decent score in CAT. Interview calls came and then MBA happened. So yeah.
Cool. That's pretty interesting. You know, uh, what happens usually is, and from my own journey and from what people sort of when people reach out to us for guidance and mentorship, what I've usually seen is, uh, okay, you are into UPSC, year one goes, nothing happens for whatever reasons. Year two goes, nothing happens for whatever reasons, right? Then this sort of risk reward ratio starts to get against you, very significant, right? That's what happened with me. I never thought that I would not make it into UPSC. I just had that feeling that it is not a question of if, it's a question of when, right? That is, how much passionate you are about, this particular examination. There are emotions involved, other things involved, right? Especially when you have been thinking about becoming a bureaucrat, for a long time, right? Now, because of this, it really becomes a difficult choice to make. When do you get out of it, right? Government provides us 6 attempts.
Mhm.
I was into UPSC long back, 10 years back, from 2013 to 2016. At that time as well, we had 6 attempts. Now, every time you think about, okay, this is it, I want to get out of it, there is a thought at the back of your mind, boss, I've already spent 2 years or 3 years preparing for this examination. For whatever reasons, I'm not been able to make it, but because I've been so passionate, so emotional about this examination, maybe just that thought remains in your mind, that maybe even if I get into a program, whatever, a degree program, full-time degree program, or even a job. Like for myself, I got into a full-time job. Maybe I will figure out ways to appear for this examination, right? Or there are other people who, let's say, will think that, look, okay, this is the time for me to get out of this examination. But the moment the notification for the next round comes out, they just stop making efforts either to get into the market or to get into a degree program, but maybe, come back and start preparing for this examination. Did
Mhm.
something of this sort happen to you? For example, to me, even when I got into a full-time job, it lingered at the back of my mind for around 2 years that somehow, I'm gonna be taking time out of a full-time job, maybe study and then appear for the examination. Although it did not materialize that way, but it remained, right? It takes time to get fully out of it. So did a similar thing happen to you? And what was, some of the things which you sort of did just so that you did not fall back into this, loop or cycle again?
So 2020 was that particular year for me, the 1 year before the last attempt. I actually mentally I decided that I'm done, but I wasn't ready to let it go because I had some more stamina in me, some more dreams in me, or some more stuff to fight for it. Like by either here, like short as I
Correct, correct, correct.
I was too
Absolutely.
small to miss it out. And I did 2021, and once that did happen, I was like, take a bye. 5 years is a good enough time. Age is going, time is going. Can't really do that much. I decided to back then at that particular junction. It's like ठीक है MBA करेंगे उसके बाद देखेंगे क्या करना है. So I was like, it can wait because I was still, I mean, actually, when I finished MBA, like as in a couple of months ago, I was 30. So again, I had one more attempt and 2 more years. So like, okay, bye, MBA करेंगे एक साल पढ़ेंगे. Like then 32, let's do it once.
Okay.
If it doesn't happen, let's not happen. And honestly, at point of time, I think even I won't do it, but now I don't have the mental stamina or the capacity to stop it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. That
tiring, it's so
that
exhausting. It's was in a toxic relationship for me. Like, and I've been in toxic relationships. This is unimaginable for me. So that I couldn't do. But one interesting note was that the 2021, the results for the prelims comes, after your all of your orders, like all of the appointment orders. So I think it came in the month of July, which I was already 1 month into the MBA program. I looked at my prelim score because I really want to know how much I missed it by. And that was the only year I missed it by the lowest margin, 0.67. If I'm right, is the lowest margin you can miss the cutoff. And I missed it exactly by that. That night I was like very irritated. Like I couldn't sleep that night. I was like, I was on the campus, I had work to do, like a lot of class assignments and stuff to do, but I really couldn't let that go. But I was already in a place where I can't really look
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
So I had to at least anything you do is just to go forward. So I just had
Sure,
to
sure.
put it at stop there. Even now, honestly speaking, whenever I speak with a civil service aspirant, I mean, of course, some of my friends are still preparing for that. The thought is does come back in, but honestly,
But what would be your advice? There are many people on this call, I'm sure, who are navigating this journey, and they are navigating this juncture where they have to take a call whether this is the right time to move out of it, or do I go for another attempt, right? Because I guess right now the way things are working, attempts are not the question, right? Do I have another attempt or not? The question is, do I spend another year preparing for this examination or not? So, what would be your advice to people who are sort of, at this crossroad where they have to decide, okay, this is it. Maybe I look out for opportunities outside, or do I have to go for another attempt? Like you mentioned, for example, you said that, look, okay, 3 attempts are the max which people should go up, but anything outside that number of attempts which can help people to sort of do a good analysis of the cost benefit ratio. Again, it's very difficult, but devoid of any emotions, in a very very rational and practical setting, just do that analysis, that look, boss, I've already spent so many years preparing for this examination. Whatever additional years I'm going to be spending, it's close to being stupid, right? It's like playing with my career. Okay,
mm,
it's easier said than sort of done. I understand that. I have myself navigated that journey. But again, from your thoughts and your learnings, what do you think? How can people, you know devoid of any emotion, decide that, look, okay, this is it for me, and now I have to think what next?
see, this will be very subjective to people, but I'll give you some objective facts here. For startups, 9 out of 10 startups fail. That is 90% will fail, and that's what the venture capitalists or the Shark Tank people will always tell. And I just had one. There's a mental health therapist who came to our office and talked about mental health. He told 95% of relationship also fails. Like, so he told his advice was, when you're starting a new relationship, understand that this could fail. There's a high probability of it could fail. I'm not saying don't invest in yourself, that don't like
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
open with them, but it's understand that it could fail. Likewise, I just did the math for IAS alone, not civil service, not 1,100 or 1,000 odd roles, but IAS is usually 180 roles for as far as I know. The ratio of failure is 98.6 if I take 13 lakh people aspirants who are appearing. And if you're going to take 10 lakh, which is like serious aspirants or whatever number you put, at any number, it's not going to be more than 95%. The failure rate is so freaking high. You don't need to be, I mean, unless there's no so there's no logic for you to be doing it again. And there's another concept, economically speaking, diminishing marginal utility. I'm not an economist, never studied that except for MBA terms or if you're UPSC. You're not going to be better if you put in more time or effort. Not in that particular aspect, at least. You need to think differently, which is not going to come if you're going to do the same thing again. Like, I mean, again, to quote, I don't want to quote Kohli here, but probably Sachin here. The famous innings of 241 in Australia, where he didn't play cover drive, he had to really think through it. He had to do something which he never has done before, and that took a lot of him. And likewise, in the same settings, you can't change yourself or have a different process or an approach which will tell you what to do that. You'll have to change the whole system or the setting itself. For that, for at least that purpose, I actually advise you to do something else, because again, the age is 32. If you're losing out on a good chunk of your youth and doing this thing which probably is actually against you, it's not going to really get you where you had to be. So if I don't, I mean, I'm not saying you don't need to do the last attempt or the fifth, sixth attempt, fourth attempt, whatever. Do this MPP, MBA, or anything else before. Give it a chance. Do that. Have something for yourself. And if you still feel like it, that's what I did for myself. Like, अगर MBA करेंगे उसके बाद 1 साल 2 साल काम करेंगे, then I'll figure out if I want to come back, I'll come back. because I still have the age limit for it. I can do it at any point of time. Do it then, so that you have some
Correct. But at least
plan
you are
to do.
securing your career, right? You know
Exactly.
that if things doesn't work out, you have a part two
Exactly.
sort of.
You have another alternate path. Uh, Also, for me, plan B was always there, but still I didn't want to do it. Like, I had to postpone it for such a long time. Don't, I mean, that's why I'm telling, 3 attempts after that, the really the diminishing margin really kicks in. You really can't be adding a lot of value to yourself. Whereas currently, as an MBA graduate, the way I think or see approach stuff, be it even consulting, what I learned in the last 6 7 months, that also changes. That also adds value to my the way I approach a question, be it prelims, mains, or interview. That is an additional value which you can't teach yourself in the same settings. That's what I mean by change your setting. So if you do that, maybe you can give all the last attempt, but last attempt will, I can assure you, it won't really take you there if you're going to do the same thing again and again. It's very tough.
I, re- I really like your answer. That's a typical management consultant take in terms of cost benefit analysis and how you should decide that. I really like that, clarity of thought and how you put it across. I'm sure, other people on the call would identify with that. It's not a rocket science to identify. The odds are never in your favor. You take your chances. If it doesn't work out, you just have to accept and leave and be brave about it, right? That's the thing which I keep on telling people, that you have to be brave about it, both when you take a decision to get into UPSC and even more braver when you take a decision to get out of UPSC.
Yes. I think probably whenever in interviews, when I was asked, be it internship or an MBA for the actual job, there's those questions, HR questions which you prefer. The toughest thing I had to do was that, like, to decide I'm done with UPSC is actually the toughest decision I had to take. No one can tell you, no, your parents can't tell you, your friends who are in service, who are not in service can't tell you. It's you versus you, and it's impossible to take that call. It's very, very tough. I have the call, the decision takes a lot of toll, and you will never be satisfied with the result wherever you are for a long time. Now I made peace with it. After 2 years of grueling MBA, I could make some peace with it. But again, as I said, a couple of days ago, I thought, bye. I now that I'm working in government, maybe I'll do one more thing. I'll be like,
So,
Girish,
so, so
you'll be
you
very
you
consultant.
you still have that option to maybe take another attempt.
I
I
do.
am, after 10 years of my career, I'm yet not at peace, with a decision which I took, 10 years back. So it's like that, you it's UPSC, you
Yeah.
prepare for this examination with so much of emotion and passion. It's just not possible to get out of it. But there are certain rational decisions which needs to be taken. But that gives me a very good segue into our next section. So, okay, you are an engineer, you get into UPSC, and then you decide to go for a management program. You get into Ahmedabad, which is like the best here in India, and then you get into impact consulting. So,
Mhm.
okay, there are some comments on the chat. Maybe we take those a bit later.
Okay.
But my question to you, Girish, over here is, uh, when you decided that, look, okay, this is it, UPSC is it, I need to think about next. Did you always know that, impact consulting is something which you want to explore or which you want to get into, and MBA is the path? Because a lot of people come to us, they ask questions like, okay, now that I want to get out of UPSC and I really want to pursue a master's program, do I go for an MPP or do I go for an MBA? What should I be going for? How to choose one over the other? Or can I get into impact consulting via MPP? Can I get into impact consulting via MBA, which should be the most preferred path? What is your take on that?
Uh, okay, I think one more question is that okay, someone asked what's impact consulting. Okay, if you know consulting, it's something with to do with government or something in public sector. So just to brief, so that not a lot of things you
Yeah,
have to.
absolutely. And for other people on the call, I'll be opening the floor for a Q&A maybe after 30 minutes. So, you can have all your questions and doubts answered from Girish. That's not a problem. And hopefully, in the course of this conversation for under 30 minutes, we will be able to touch upon some of those questions which you are already writing down over the chat. If there are any, feel free to ask them in the last 30 minutes of the
Yeah.
conversation.
So MPP or MBA or any
Yeah.
other doesn't matter. Uh, See, I have in my company GDA partners, there are a lot of people who work alongside me. Some are experienced than me, some are most of them are younger than me, probably because of this gap. But a lot of people have done MPPs in good colleges, Xavier's or US National Law University of in Bangalore, and TIS as well. And there are a good number of people who have done MBA, and also there's a good number of people who have neither done MBA or MPP or any masters of that sort. There are people who have done their bachelors, work through it, and they are more experienced than me. And honestly speaking, they do better. Their way of thinking is still better. And I speak, bhai, acha tha, like, there's something actually I can learn from them. And and I guarantee they are younger than me. That doesn't, when again, this I'm saying particularly because we lose a lot of our age and youth in this thing. That don't be afraid or don't take it personally that I this person's younger than me and they're better than me. That's bound to happen. They have been in this space for a good time. They'll be better in some aspects, and you have a different set of skills which I've gained through this year. It will. This is important skill which you will understand in a in a daily fashion, very specific levels, which we'll probably cover later. But again, coming back to MPP or MBA, I feel it's up to the persons individually. Like I said, being engineer for me, the quant part is something which I can associate myself very dearly. So MBA, between MBA and MPP, or even MPA, Master of Public
Yeah, yeah,
Administration, all of these options were open. But MPP, though, I had to do a bit more of research on which is the good colleges, what are the options after that, and so on and so forth. And before going to MBA, one job, I knew impact consulting existed. There was one couple of companies which I knew barely about, but again, I didn't know if MBA will help that or how to go about that. I just thought MBA, I see MBA as a golden key, or good number of degrees from a very good college. It's a golden key. Doesn't matter what you learn there, but it matters how you perform and how you think. So once you have that, or even from my college, I love to talk about Harsha Bhole. Sorry, I'm bringing a lot of cricket anecdotes. I'm not a big cricket fanatic, but it's very, after BGT, I'm kind of traumatized from that. And, yeah, so Harsha Bhole once said in his interaction with us that this IMA degree is, or an MBA degree for the matter, is your test cricket cap. It gets you where you want to be. It provides you the opportunity. It doesn't. I'm not saying it gives you the opportunity. It allows you to take part in the opportunity. You get to know this opportunity exists. Uske baad, converting the opportunity is your talent, your preparation, your efforts, and all of that. But that's what this gives. And likewise, every degree for that matter will give you that. Again, said all that doesn't matter. You have to do that degree. I did MBAs because a couple of things. One is that after this 5 years of break from general world, UPSC preparation, civil service preparation, isolated preparation. I want to get back to this actual world, understand Gen Z terms, to be honest, and then start back working. So for me, a 2 year MBA made more sense. And also I know I can clear CAT because I've done this JE preparation, I've done Olympiad preparation. I know CAT is something which is not very tough for me. A was not in my ballpark at all. A is again some bit of luck. I thought I'll get into some IIM. I'll figure it out. उसके बाद I'll MBA degree है tag है तो उसके बाद I'll figure it out क्या करना है. This luckily fortunately happened on its own. And for impact consulting, the passion is what I feel it matters. And being UPSC aspirant, the passion is always going to be there. But how you think is what is going to change. It can be via this MPP courses, MPA, MBA courses. If not, if you can do that without that, it's also appreciable. But one thing which I want to cover upon is usually after good years of civil service preparation, our self-confidence take a big hit. For me also it took. And usually I believed, when I came in, I thought my confidence was pretty high and it took a real heavy toll. So there's a lot of
absolutely.
self-doubt involved when you're appearing, or even I think that's why we're not, happy to take the quitting call, because you have no clue what to do next. And you're not sure if you can do that. But back then when you started UPSC, you are sure you'll clear UPSC, and UPSC is probably the toughest exam on the earth. You should go with a new opportunity with the same blind confidence that the kid who stupidly thought they could clear, or that passion, that's not something which you can lose. Try to get that, or try to go with that spirit. Probably you will get what you had to. You will do what you need to do to get where you need to be. So the self confidence is something which every interview will be looking for, especially in your as an UPSC aspirant, because they know that's something which you will probably lack, and that plays a lot of effect in your work performance as well.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. But just talk us through, like, you spent time preparing for UPSC. Did that time in a way sort of, when you spend time, you learn a lot of things, you get experiences a lot of time, in a lot of different ways.
Mhm.
Did that in a way contribute towards you taking a role as a consultant in the impact consulting space, and maybe how did that help you to sort of get into it, and maybe some of the ways in which the journey sort of helps you in doing maybe well in your current career.
Okay, so how my learning from this civil service journey helped to do these changes, right?
Correct.
So personally, for me, the learnings from UPSC more than our actual bookish knowledge, and that's obviously there for everyone. But something which I learned more about myself is the patience which I could run through, because taking 4 or 5 attempts is something unimaginable for anyone. Because most of the bachelor degree is 4 years, best or in medical care 5.5 years. So most of us do 5 years happily with no expectations. Like I'm saying, after 4 or 5 years, you get a degree, be it BTech, BE, BCom, anything, or MBBS. But यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं है, nothing else. No one recognizes what you've done, and you did that. So patience is a very crucial thing which you have, and of course curiosity also comes in, because you have to cover scotch the earth to understand a lot of concepts which you barely know, though even the spelling you have not heard of the first time. So these are some concepts which are deep rooted in you, something which you don't know it's in you, but believe me when I say this, you will have it. So this is there, and the trade-offs, like I said before, self-confidence. This will be the trade-off from the UPSC preparation. But these are something very intangible benefits. But specifically, tangibly, I'm talking about for any exam. It's you don't need to crack the exam. Even for UPSC, and I haven't cracked the prelims only once. You don't need to know the answers, by rote learning or understanding the complete knowledge. You just have to figure out what the answer is. Likewise, CAT may be AEA, JE may be AE, any exam, that's the idea. You don't need to find the solution, figure out the solution, but find the answer. Those are two different things. So the
Absolutely.
strategy to how to do that is what I learned from civil service preparation, like prelims preparation specifically. And like I told you, that 20% of the question which I had to leave it, that's something I got to know like slowly. Like I know which I have a higher tendency to make a fallacy or a mistake. That once that 20% is removed, you know what you can do within the limited time for a CAT exam or any other exam, and you'll do better at that point of time. And I'm talking exclusively for cracking the exam, and also for interviews. For example, I talk about my MBA interview, like to get into the college. Usually, professors interview the student, and they were asking me the question which they know, like maths or economics. Heights or economics में इतना ही पता है, macro पता है, micro पता नहीं क्या है. And they tried something. I told, हाँ ये पता है, नहीं, oh, I have no clue what that is. And then they gave it to math, a pretty strong suit for me. I did practically well. And then they asked me what was optional, and I told anthropology, and then I took them for a ride. They told name all the hominid species. Then I started numbering them 10 to 12 numbers, which they had no clue of. Everyone knows Homo erectus or Homo sapiens or what Homo florensis or something like that. But I just went about naming 10, 12, and of course Neanderthals and all. But I went heavenly, and at that point of time, I saw the lead professor, the older professor, starting to Google and figuring out if I'm making sense or just blabbering some names, random names. At that moment, I know that I think I cracked this. I was pretty sure I cracked this, because I had to make a 50-year-old professor who was brilliant, like absolutely brilliant. The way one of the conversation we had in the interview was if aliens exist or not. I was saying it exists, and he was saying I took a point because I was a essay right before I took that point, because I thought that's more logical, because everyone's going to say it doesn't exist. I want to say it does exist. I made some anthropological reasons with a lot of stuff. He went on going with it. So that anthropology reasons, which I know I am good at, I had to bring it there, and I had to show I'm absolutely good at that. Like you can't question me there, and I can challenge you at any level. So that really helped me out. And like we say, interview prep I didn't really do, but some amount of preparation about how to take the questions from what they say to what I want to be asked. That's something which I started learning, and that helped me out throughout my interviews, be it to get into MBA or to the profession. So these are some very tangible benefits you'll have. But otherwise, one specific thing which you all have is to read and consume a lot of knowledge in a limited time. So when I started reading newspapers, it took me a lot of time to read. Now, if I see a newspaper, I know what to read specifically. I'm telling newspaper because we all, of course, understand. Forget newspaper, take another research paper. I still intuitively know what, I mean, you'll maybe take 5 or 10 research papers to read, but once you understand that, your brain start instinctively, very intuitively picture.
Absolutely.
ये करना है, वो करना है, इसके बाद you know. Within 5 minutes, you can finish a 10 page of reading and have an idea or opinion by yourself with a concept which is completely alien to you. So that's something which I understood during the course of MBA. my mental capacity to consume knowledge and the mental capacity to be exhausted by consuming knowledge, which also is real, was pretty high because I could. That's what I've been doing for 4 5 years. I've been reading a lot of random new information, which I rarely knew I'll be using it in future. So those are things which
Sure, sure.
education will help you.
That makes sense. I guess most of us on the call would identify with that. Now, many people who reach out to us, and we have interactions with, everyone has this aspiration to get into impact consulting for various reasons because they are prepared for UPSC. It's a coveted field, with good pay and good exposure and various other things. So, can you just, from your own knowledge and experience, specify some of the traits which are markers of success in this particular field? And, how can people do an assessment that, look, okay, I should go into impact consulting, or I should aim for impact consulting, or I should not aim for impact consulting?
See, consulting predominantly here is just problem solving in a very raw sense. But there are a lot of aspect of consulting which you'll have to figure out on yourself, which is not something no one, honestly speaking, no one can teach you consulting. It's not a skill as such. It's on the job thing which you slowly learn. You can't be like, and you do engineering, you do a MBBS, you can call yourself engineer or doctor. You're good or bad is a different question, but you can call yourself that. There's no course or something or a module or something which you do and say like, come मैं consultant हो चुका हूँ. नहीं होगा. So that's not specific metric as such, but there are some features which you have to have so that you can perform better as a consultant. One is that you had to be very patient in understanding yourself and understanding the problem, because most often than not, unlike most of the other scenarios I've seen, you don't know what the question is. Like for example, in UPSC means you're told a question है, इसको जवाब दे दिए, discuss, illustrate, in whatever. But here, your primary idea is to talk with your stakeholders, your clients, and understand what is the problem. And they also won't know. They know what's not happening or why this is not. पहले इतना था, अभी इतना ही है, पता नहीं क्यों. And it's you who have to keep questioning, pestering, badgering them to understand what is the problem. So it takes a lot of patience and a lot of time as well. Time commitment, it's serious here. And what time commitment isn't how much time you spend with talking, but also let's say you take up a deadline, like or you commit or they commit. Deadline is absolutely important. You tell 12th of January, it means 12th of January. It doesn't mean 12th January 9 a.m. It means the day before. Because 9 a.m. you go with the solution. You have everything clear, like mentally done. You can be in a PhD researcher on that, because those will be the questions they'll ask you, and you'll have to defend it thorough and thorough. And the time commitment and time management is absolutely essential. And also, more often than not, consulting usually comes with the traveling thing. Either you travel to the client location or you stay there and work with the clients. But if you want to stay in Delhi or one of the cities and work, maybe consulting is not really for you, at least for the time being. More often than not, this is the scenario here. And one last thing is you got to be really agile, like because problem solving comes with agility. You pick up you think this is the question and you make a solution. At the 11th hour, you understand, which also happened incidentally 2 weeks ago. We understood that what we thought as a problem is not the problem. So whatever the solution we made is useless. So we had to rethink, make the problem statement, and then make a solution. We found a day before, which is not sufficient to make the whole, structure the whole idea. We figured it out. That night I had to work through the night so that I can get it done before I go to the meeting. Because this meeting I had people who are 30 years experience in government, secretaries, assistant secretaries, joint secretaries, and pitching for them. I'm a 30-year-old guy who was talking to people who are much experience, who knows what they are. And it's a task here in impact consulting way. But let's say in management consulting also, you go to people who have absolute domain knowledge in that. You're a new person who have not seen the domain. You're not been in the domain. So that thing, this agility, your passion to learn and execute has to be very fast, and you have to stand to it. So if you can do that, it's to you.
Absolutely. Completely on point. I absolutely agree with the points which you made. Agility is the keyword. Agility is the right word. And, it is dynamic. If something has to go out on a particular date, it has to go out. It doesn't matter you have a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 9 thing. It doesn't. So thanks so much, Girish, for that. Okay, now if I talk about the word from which, in general, UPSC aspirants commit, not all, you take a degree. It might not be an engineering, it might be any other social science degree. Then you get into UPSC prep. You spend 3, 4, maybe more years preparing for it. Then you come out of it. And maybe you have that ambition or aspiration to get into impact consulting, right? Now your CV is weak, right? The CV might not have more than maybe your academic qualifications with some extracurriculars, if any. You don't have content to mention on your CV. Maybe, again, not for all, but for many, you are not from a tier one college, right?
Mhm.
So, and you do not have any internships, you do not have any experience, right? Now, within these constraints, which I am guessing many in the UPSC space have, right? These are real constraints. These are what people who come to us have, right? So,
Mhm.
if these are the constraints and people are really aspiring to be an impact consultant, what would be your suggestion to them in terms of the journey, or how should they be planning their journey to get into this?
Hmm. See, for this, for impact consulting or management consulting or any consulting for the matter, there are two, three primary things you'll have to be equipped before you go start the process. One is CV. So, CV, the way I'm not so sure how, like, I can't talk about others, but myself, my CV, which I made for engineering degree, which got me a job, is a shit CV. It can't be used anywhere else. It's pretty bad. And you can just Google for any MBA CVs in LinkedIn itself. You'll see it and you'll be astonished or shocked on how much they have done. Like you'll see, like, "Bhaiya, itna kya hai? I'm not there." Absolute bullshit. You have done some things. You just have to figure out what you have done. You have to represent it better. It's just the wording. It's just like, I'm not saying it's they have no lying on the CV or told more than what they have done, but the way you put it, the words you narrate your story in the one pager, that sets you apart. So CV making is a very important criteria, which luckily this MBA journey taught me. But otherwise, I think even probably Akshat or Jigyasu can also talk about that. They also, I believe, are doing a CV making workshop, which is, believe me, I'm not telling because they are here, but it's absolutely necessary because you will get eliminated before you even start with the process. See, every interview or the getting job process is a funnel. You start with a good number of people. CV may I'll want if I'm a recruiter, I'll want to cut down 90%, that will or 80%. It's a very huge number. So they're not going to look at what you did, but how you word it. Because that also shows you how well you know about yourself. Because it's you, your CV is about you. So you have to structure it better, like make it very crisp. So for that, put some time. Take for me, I took about to understand to I took about a month or 5 weeks to make my CV. First 2 weeks, I just got exhausted and scared that by last 25, 20 years, 26 years, I have done nothing, absolutely nothing. But it's not the case. It's never the case. Even if you're a fresher right out of college, from any college and just coming, you still have done sufficiently enough to make a very good CV. Once the CV making is done, you understand a lot better about yourself, and you can actually, once you do that, the way you represent yourself in an interview itself will change. That's one. Second is, I think, probably is to this case interviews. Uh, I'm guessing you know what case. I mean, most of you guys know what case interviews, but that's a very crucial aspect for any consulting job. So to know to tell what to expect in a case interview, maybe I'll try to take a GS2 question. I think the recent GS2 question is like how the cabinet system is marginally reducing the parliamentary supremacy of sort, like how cabinet form of government is not equal, it's not creating. I mean, it's not good for a parliamentary supremacy. So it's just diluting the importance of a parliamentary supremacy. This is the question, and you all of you will know or have an idea how to answer it. Like even before you start preparation, you'll have some idea, but once you start reading, you know what cabinet system is or what parliament is, supremacy is, and you start with it. We miss out on in the during course of our mains writing practice. We learn how to structure the answer. What I had to because you have the space consider 1.5 pages, right? उसमें क्या लिखना है क्या नहीं लिखना है. So you necessarily need to talk about judicial supremacy here or basic structure of constitution here, but just because you know you're not supposed to put that. But the whole question should address whole of the problem from start to scratch to end. This understanding the breadth of the problem is what is expected prima facie in consulting or problem solving consulting. there's this term called MISI, mutually exclusive and completely exhaustive. You create a framework which you give 5 or 6 or how many ever number of ideas or diverging views or diverging items which are distinct from each other, and you tell ये सब कर सकते हैं अगर इस cabinet अगर if you have someone saying cabinet is more powerful than parliament supremacy, you also have why and why not. That's a very simple thing. A and not A. That's the very basic framework, but you can also go in multiple other fashion. You have PESTEL is a framework which you all know. Likewise, this frameworking or how to approach it. This is what I believe is the casework ke liye, like what you can understand or approach a casework is. This is nothing new. This is nothing, no rocket science in it. Whatever you need to know, believe me, you already know. You just have to restructure your thinking and reword how you're saying it out, and that will put you where you need to be. And it's not a big task. It takes maybe 6 weeks of preparation, like 1 week of just understanding it, 5 weeks just to repeat it and understand, or be very prepared with it. Just repetition, repetition, repetition. So if you do that, these two, if you can figure it out, then more often than not, third will be your interaction for your like most companies, regardless of consulting, also will look for the fit of the person. Like, will you as an individual set the company culture fit interview or a HR question? You can call it however you want, but that will be usually with either the HR or chief of staff or the founder or co-founder or whoever, like in the highest level. So more often than not, UPSP aspirants will have a definite edge over that because you have done a lot of sacrifices to be in this particular aspect of domain over others, but still answering that needs some more, structuring, structure, for the lack of better word, I'm using structure again, but how to get a better narrative of what you have done. That's what, if you can do that within that short span of time, interviews are pretty easy. It's like nothing much to do there. With this CV, case solving, and then third is this question like culture fit or HR questions. If you can work on these three, which I believe shouldn't really take more than 6 to 8 weeks with some guidance. If you're completely scratch, like tweak array, like how you did for if you're without any coaching, it'll probably take 4 months, like double of it. You have to me because 1 2 months will go to figure out क्या करना है, कहाँ करना है, क्या नहीं करना है वो सब. But then you will eventually get there. But yet, I've told you what to do, but how to do will take a lot more time as well. So have I
Sure, sure.
answered
That absolutely answers the question, and thank you so much for that. Now, fundamentally, people are sort of, like you said, low on confidence, right?
Mhm.
They ask questions like, okay, I'm not from a tier one college. Do I even stand a chance to get into this sector, right? I do not carry any experience. I
Mhm.
can work on my CV, like you said. We also help a lot of people. We have a very successful program around helping people prepare for CVs, and we have seen a lot of successes around that. And I completely agree. It is a funnel. You got to be, having things on your CV so that you're past that funnel. But in general, people are low on confidence because they're not from tier one college. They do not have any experience in other things. So, do you think these things really matter? For example, if you're not from a tier one college, is it like you cannot get into impact consulting? In my opinion, it is not, but I guess, if you are already into it, you can talk more about it. I'm sure, you're working with JDI partners as a consultant. You have also been a recruitment coordinator with them. IIM Ahmedabad, so I don't think there is anyone else better placed than you in the community to answer this question. So maybe just throw more light on this, because I'm sure people on this call are also waiting to hear this aspect of journey to get into impact consulting. Does it always go, for example, via master's degree? If I do not hold a master's degree, but I have a reasonably good bachelor's, can I dream of getting into impact consulting via the things which you have mentioned?
Yes. Let me again use a different framework for answering this. This I use a lot personally. There's two ways. Like I call this a right way, and then there's this easy way. And
Okay.
just because I say easy way doesn't mean asan hai. It's called easy way for a reason, but it's not. It's simple. So the right way for an, let's say, a Taiwan person, or not a Taiwan college person, is to fill the gaps, no, the gaps on what they're missing. First figuring out the gaps and then filling it. That's exactly what consultant also in very nutshell do. So CV थोड़ा सा अच्छा करना है और prepare करना है बस. Like this what I said, 2 months to 4 months you can figure it out. If your CV is good enough, the companies can't really say no to you. And even your how you represent your 4 or 3 or 2 years of gap for this UPSC matters. How best you can put it on your CV, because in my college, there's a good number of people who prepared for civil service and came to our campus. We all, in my batch, myself and a couple of others and other people, we told the next batch, like, by A kar lo. If you're clear prelims, do this. If you're not clear prelims, do this. If you're clear mains, do this. So the way you put it, the company knows you have done that specifically, and they don't look how many attempts you did. They understand, acha, ye bacha to UPSC attempt kiya hai. That is a significant signal to the company that they have done this, and that itself is it's a good metric. Like, it shows a lot. But then once you get the opportunity, how you convert it is where your interview skills also matters. How well you talk, how well you communicate, how well you pitch yourself on what you did, that matters. So CV making is a very different aspect, but how you communicate the CV orally when interview also matters. But so this is the right way. Easy way is your master's degree. Most of the masters, like for me, I took the easy way because I know I can write cat and clear with somewhat, because he said I never really prepared and really got a good score always. I think couple of it is never low below 120, which is, I think, is a pretty good score, honestly. So I thought cat I can do it. So that actually for me the easy way, because easy way in the aspect that I didn't need to do this tough research of how to get into impact consulting, or what kind of companies are there, what kind of roles will I get, what is the preparation I should do. Because I thought once I do MBA, everything will open up. I just have to say I'm MBA grad, and which is, obviously it comes when the campus recruitment pata hai unko, or I just put in my CV MBA kya hai. That makes them understand that hey. But
Absolutely.
believe me, there that's not necessary, because as of now my bank balance is negative. MBA in A, B, C is about 25 lakhs of loan. You'll be funded by some bank, but it's a loan. So as of now, my bank balance, how much ever I earn, will be negative for next 2 to 3 years. That's not a thing which which you need after, you spend 3 4 years for preparing for civil service as well. So honestly speaking, I will never advise anyone to take any MBA or MPP course unless you are like, for me, I was also at a place where I'm like completely exhausted. Pata nahi kya karna hai, and want to put that extra effort to figure it out. But if you have the guidance, if you have someone who can tell you what to do, how to do it, do that. That's much easier. And companies don't really look for people. See, most companies don't really look for people who are absolutely the best of best. If you're everyone looking for the best of best, only one company can literally exist, because other companies will go bankrupt. So it's
Absolutely.
not just the best of the best from all tier one or whatever colleges you want to call, but how well you represent yourself, how well you do your job properly. For that, you don't need the tier one colleges or whatever, like tier one companies. Like, let's say you work in some other big company and then you like उसके बाद में impact में आएंगे, ऐसे नहीं है. They don't give, no one cares for that. So do your job diligently, prove yourself what you're worth, how you're worth, the way it requires. The founder or who is conducting the interview will be very happy with you, and they really want a person who can get the job done. Every consultant, any company for that matter, they want a person who they say "Ye karna hai," and they'll ensure it's done. If you can get that trust, that build within that interaction with 20 minutes of your interview period, that's what is necessary. Uske pehle to you need the CV and the cases and all to get there. But
Okay. I guess that's a very important insight, coming in from your side, Girish. So I guess people need to focus upon the right aspects which can help them to get into impact consulting instead of being worried about, look, I don't have this in my CV. Do not have this in my CV. Just focus upon what is needed to get into this particular sector. That would be more important than anything else. If you realize that, look, okay, your CV is short in certain aspects, we will build on those. If you feel that you lack in certain aspects, we build onto this instead of just keep thinking about I'm not from tier 2, I'm not from tier 1, let me not go for it. Put in artificial constraints which doesn't help, right? And in any case, once you are pivoting from UPSC to a corporate world, you are low on confidence. So again, these are artificial constraints, right? Once you remove them, the entire world is yours. You just need right guidance, and you can get it, right? And I guess that's what we try and provide as part of our programs: right guidance, right mentorship with skill development. Focus on how individuals can build their CV, build their CV well, be it in the form of projects, be it, various other things, skills, so that there is muscle on your CV, which really helps you, get onto the next step. And obviously, you learn along the way. Okay. Now, this is impact consulting. We do a lot of Google and we get a lot of material on business consulting, right? But when it comes to impact consulting, I don't think there is a lot of material which exists. When it comes to practice, when it comes to books written, a lot of literature written, and various other things, all you find is on business consulting, right? So did you also face like these constraints when you sort of wanted to prepare for your interviews, and how did you overcome these?
Right. So as such, even from my research, when my friends appeared for interviews in this space, I don't think there's any specific, preparation module or courses for this. I relied upon two things. Like all of these MBA colleges or good, all good, any MBA college or any big colleges in DU, you'll have these case books which you can find on LinkedIn. उसमें there'll be like 5, 6 structures or frameworks written. Particularly two structures I used. One is growth and next is unconventional. So again,
Sorry,
इसमें
growth and what?
unconventional.
Okay, unconventional. Okay.
So, rather unconventional is basically others, like nothing can be nothing which is not qualified. They're basically your profitability, market research, go to market, then growth, and I think one more two yeah, M&A and due diligence. M&A is mergers and acquisition and due diligence, and then finally unconventional. Like unconventional is something which you can't bucket in the earlier 4 or 5. So what happens is in the growth cases or unconventional cases, it's very open. You really can't figure out what's happening there. And what I've found is that's where most of our social impacts questions come from, like your indicators like gender divisions on nutrition or health, childcare, or anything of that sort, environment, climate, everything comes. Some questions were there. I mean, if at all it's there, like out of say 300 cases, maybe 5 cases would be there. And that's what I had to pick because I mean, that's at least that's available. That's all I can go with it. So usme to do that, what I had to do was to understand how frameworks work or how consulting cases work. So I had to do a bit more of case preparation for this. Basic cases usually profitable, what they call is profitability, or simply put, how to increase the company's profit. Absolutely nothing to do with impact space, but profit increasing is one way to look at it. But basically increasing something or increasing the benefits, reducing the misfits. That's what you can look at it, the profitability case. The way you think, how you structure, you can learn from that. But the concept there, you really can't export it to your impact sector. That's how I managed it, like in the profitability space. And then I went, once I understood how usually cases work, went on to growth, because usually people you can't start with growth. It's too complicated, or it's too um there's no logic, like there's no specific ways to approach it. You create the ways as and when you go. There's no guidance there. Whereas profitability may guidance work. So once you understand something which you can do, then you export that particular skill to other cases. So that's how I did it, and that really worked for me. But as far as I know, maybe you can contact me some things. I can help you. Some people I can help you with some aspects. But again, from overall I've seen, I haven't found a module or a place where you can understand impact consulting space completely. But once you understand this case solving, you need probably 1 or 2 more weeks to readjust to use your general knowledge which you learned in the UPSC preparation to frame your own frameworks and how to solve it better and better. The numbers will be what you learned in for prints and all. Your numbers data will remain the same, so that's a benefit for you. But the frameworks, how you structure what you say, that has to come from this. So I had to do the normal management case preparation just to even enter here. That is a tedious process we had to do. So yeah, over to you if you have any other suggestions. We can think of anything here.
Yeah, I guess that's what we have similar opinion. When it comes to guiding people in the right way as far as specific impact-related cases are concerned, that's the constraint which we face. But yeah, whatever ideas you suggest, I guess those pretty much should work if people are looking to sort of get into impact consulting and maybe practice cases for that. We ourselves, we are trying to sort of structure a module around that so that it is more structured. People are able to, in a structured way, practice, because practice is the key term which you mentioned. You absolutely have to do that. Maybe if you practice, in a guided manner, guided by some professional, maybe it takes, as you said, maybe I don't know, 2 to 3 months. But if it is unguided, you yourself can also figure out. It's not like you cannot, but maybe it takes more time, right? Maybe you end up taking 5 to 6 months, but you can yourself figure out, or you can take some professional help, to sort of do it in a bit quick manner, like maybe UPSC coaching centers over here in Delhi. They're helping you out, but there are people who are managing it on their own and getting into this, right? So it's the same way, and that's the reason we thought of, okay, let's design a program, because there is this gap. People are not usually able to get the right guidance to get into this sector. That's why we came up with this Case for Change program, and we have opened this for registrations 2 weeks back. And that's the entire objective. But I know it's already 8:30. I will very soon open the floor for discussion, but there's just last question from my side before we open the floor for discussion. And that's again, I'm sure many people on this call would be interested to hear. What about the salary? Okay, all of this is good, but okay, what what how does the impact space look like as far as the salary is concerned? Okay, end of the day, yes, we are looking for meaningful work, we are looking for all of those things, but of course, the amount of money which we make also matters, right? So again, in general, I'm sure the scales are different. We cannot just pinpoint, okay, who is offering what, but in general, from a median salary point of view, just your opinion around, okay, if it is impact consulting, what might be the range of maybe a median salary which people can expect to make if they get into impact consulting or manage to get into impact consulting?
Okay, so couple of aspects here. First is for me, since I've also done an MBA, I joined as a consultant, like which is in my company. It's 2 levels above the starting position. But again,
Okay.
depending on your what education you have done and what also I've also experienced to some extent before
Yeah.
joining it. I'm not completely unexperienced, so I had some ideas on how to do things. Not just MBA, but also the work experience really mattered here. I could translate some experience and skills here to some fashion. So most, if you're fresher or less fresher or with no degree, no master's degree, then even then I just looked at numbers for the level 10 or the grade 10, however you want to call it, for IAS. In the starting, that's the starting job, starting pay for an IAS or IPS for the matter, or everyone, for all of the people who join, you still get about 20% more than that. So in
Okay.
I mean, again, one would obviously no, come back saying that भाई उसके perks है, host क्या travel है, accommodation है, वो सब है. But still 20% would really cover all of your things, and especially if you're, let's say, you're working from a different location, more often than not consulting pay. If you're working not in the base location, they will provide your accommodation, food, travel, and all. So the basic things are covered. So given that, I know, I mean, in the last 6 7 months, again, not to say one crucial thing, if you're looking at big money and not impact, probably this is not your space. The question which you asked again there, because with the same set of very similar set of skills, you can go to management consulting as well. I had an option to go there as well, but that's not my cup of tea again, for sure. Like if I had to do that, I would have done before the UPS. I didn't need to do all this thing. It didn't really make any sense for my career. And because after that I'll come back here, so it didn't really make sense as far as I was concerned. It didn't really make sense. But in the last 6 7 months, I've seen my colleagues who are freshers who have joined and who have gone. No one has seen like a complaint on salary. Of course, people will say, if someone says you give 10 more thousand, if my CEO says bye, but hello, I won't say no. But doesn't mean that I'm uncomfortable. My salary wise, it pays pretty well, and like for the number wise, it's about 20 25% more than what IS just first gets salary. So once, if that's
That's
it,
pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting, especially the way you have compared the salaries with what bureaucrats get maybe hit the entry level position. That's a really interesting way to put it. Hearing for the first time, but I really like that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Girish. Thank you so much for all your time and for all your insights. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure the rest of the people on the call would
likewise,
have.
likewise.
And just to remind people, we have been talking about impact consulting. We have been talking about the impact of case studies. We have a program which we call as Case for Change, where we provide professional support and guidance for people to crack case interviews. The details are there on our website. Please go ahead, browse through it. And if you feel you need professional help and guidance to crack case interviews, you might as well consider enrolling for it. With that, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone on this call who sort of took time out and were a part of this podcast. Great having you, and wish you all the very best. Do well. And in case there are any other doubts, concerns, or opinions, you can reach out to Girish, as he has very kindly agreed over LinkedIn. But otherwise, also there are my calendar links are available. Jigyasu's calendar links are available on our website, which is www.rebouncecarriers.com. It is absolutely free. We do not charge anything. You can block times, and we can have discussion around things which you are confused about, or you are not able to take a decision. Maybe you're looking for right mentorship and guidance around certain aspects. Feel free to block times. I spend around 1.5 hours a day absolutely for this activity. Jigyasu spends much more than that. We are happy to help, each one of you out over here in terms of figuring out what next, or if you need any professional support, help or guidance in terms of, getting into your professional careers and pivoting out of UPSC. And like we always say, we have been there and we have done that, and we are here to share our experience, knowledge, and learning. Thank you so much, everyone.
Before we finish, thanks a lot for you and Jigyasu to inviting me for this. It was reminiscing through my memory lane to see what I've been and how lucky I have to be doing part of UPSC and being MBA world and in impact sector. It was a long ride, but maybe if you want to have a positive outlook, it's doable. It is tough. Not saying it's not tough, but it's very much doable. You will still enjoy it. There was a lot of, one other, if you want to tell, sorry to take more time, anecdote is, I was the oldest person in the MBA college. And obviously the age jokes come in, and I also give back. I'm very comparatively witty person, so I'll give it back as well in some fashion or the other. Because again, two cake is right, who cares? Uh,
Absolutely, absolutely. And
there's a
I
lot
guess
of
the
questions.
keyword is, sorry, yeah, please go ahead.
See, there'll be a lot of questions, a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainties, but there are a lot of people who have done this and are doing it. Just have to reach out, build your network. People are really happy to help you out as well. I'm not talking about in monetary aspect as well. And also some people, sometime one of my close friend does it on monetary aspect because he said, he and there are two people, he and she said, if you don't put a monetary value, people are just taking for the fun of it, not following it up. So that also I won't I was like, say, oh, say. But there are a lot of people who have done exactly what you want to do, exactly be in the space where you are now. So just don't feel a stranger. Just ask them out, and more often than not, people will help you.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And like I said, for me at least, be courageous, take that call, and things will work out. There are people to help you out, like Girish said, but the call is gonna be yours end of the day. Be courageous, make that call, reach out to people for help, and things would work out. It works out at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
There is absolutely no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Cool. With that, thank you so much. Again, thank you so much, everyone. And all the
Thank you
very
all.
best.
Thanks for being patient for my 1 2 hours of therapy of my reminiscing. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Girish.